A man orders the same dinner he has ordered for years. Same restaurant, same 2 dishes. The food costs roughly what it always did. Then the screen adds a delivery fee, then a service fee, then a smaller fee with no name at all. Then it asks him to tip, before anyone has done anything yet. He pays. He always pays. But he sits there a second with a feeling he cannot name. The feeling is not that dinner got expensive. It is that he cannot tell whether he is being unreasonable. And that gap between knowing something changed and being able to prove it is where most people are living right now. Everyone agrees things got expensive. Almost nobody can say which things. So the frustration goes everywhere at once and lands mostly in the wrong places. People end up angry at coffee while something else quietly doubles. Here is the piece nobody hands you. Something to measure against. Between December 2019 and June 2026, the entire American consumer basket rose about 30%. That is the Bureau of Labor Statistics pricing the whole thing at once. Food, rent, cars, haircuts, all of it. 30%. And it is worth knowing how that number is built, because it is not an opinion and it is not a survey of how people feel. Every month, government staff collect actual prices on tens of thousands of specific items in cities across the country. The same cut of beef, at the same store, month after month. Then they weight each category by how much households really spend on it. It is imperfect, and economists argue about the edges of it constantly. But it is the closest thing we have to an honest scoreboard. And nobody making videos about the cost of living seems to mention it exists. So 30 is not the villain. 30 is the water level. The question was, never did things get expensive. The question is, what beat 30, and by how much? 12 categories did. One of them by more than double. And some of the things you are angriest about did not beat it at all. Start at the top. Delivery services. Up almost 66%. More than twice the pace of everything else in the basket. And here is what makes it sit badly. Nothing about the service improved. The driver is not faster. The food is not warmer. The fee structure just learned to multiply. One charge became 4, and the tip prompt moved to before the work instead of after it. Second, keeping a car running. Maintenance and repair up almost 53%. Part of this one is honest. Cars are full of sensors now, and some of those sensors live in the bumper. So a scrape that used to cost paint now costs paint and electronics. The car genuinely got better. The bill for a bad afternoon got much worse. Third, taking an animal to the vet. Up nearly 52%. Some of that is real. Veterinary medicine can do things now it could not do in 2019. But the price moved faster than the medicine did, and the bill always arrives at the one moment when saying no is not really on the table. Fourth, car insurance. Just under 50%. This is the cleanest example on the entire list. Your policy did not change. Your coverage did not improve. You were not sold a better product. The number on the renewal simply went up, and there is no version of it you can shop your way back into. Fifth, electricity. Almost 49%. Now think about what electricity actually is. It is the most identical product on this list. A kilowatt hour in 2026 does exactly what a kilowatt hour did in 2019. Not one thing about it improved. You are paying half again as much for something that is, by definition, the same. Now stop for a second. Because if a list only ever agrees with you, you should not trust it. So here is one that does not. Cell phone service. Down about 4%. Not down compared to inflation. Down. The plain price is lower than it was in 2019. And over those same years, the phones themselves got dramatically better. Toys, same direction. Down about 1.5%. So it is not everything. It never was everything. Which is exactly why the 12 matter, and why it is worth knowing which is which. Sixth, subscription video and games. Up almost 47%. And before this one, the honest caveat this whole video runs on. The Bureau measures prices. It does not grade quality. Everything I just said about what got worse is my read, not their finding. You are the one who decides whether it matches your life. That is the whole point of giving you the number. With that said, this is the category people feel the most and can prove the least. You are paying more, and the thing itself quietly moved backwards. Ads returned to tiers that were sold as not having them. Catalogs shrank, sharing rules tightened. That is genuinely unusual. Normally a price rises and the product just stands still. One precision note, because it matters more than it sounds. A separate index tracking cable and live television service rose only about 25%, which is below the benchmark. So the accurate sentence is not that streaming got expensive. It is that subscription video and games did, and the older service did not. If you only remember one habit from this video, make it that one. Ask which thing was actually measured. 7th, laundry and dry cleaning, nearly 42%. A shirt cleaned the same way shirts have been cleaned for about a century. No innovation happened here. No new technology arrived. The price moved anyway. And this is the pattern that starts repeating once you look for it. The categories running hottest are mostly services, where you are buying somebody's time and somebody's premises. Things made in a factory largely held their price. Toys, furniture, appliances, clothes, all of them came in well under the benchmark. Things done by a person, in a building, did not. Electricity and groceries are the two exceptions on this list, and they are exceptions worth noticing. 8th, hotels and motels, just under 40%. And this is the second clear case of paying more and receiving less. In a lot of places, daily housekeeping quietly became something you ask for rather than something you get. The room costs 40% more and comes with fewer hands touching it. Second reality check. Two categories you would swear are completely out of control. Tickets to a sporting event, up under 9%. Under a third of the benchmark. And college tuition and fees, up under 11% across the same 6.5 years. Tuition, the single worst reputation in American money. One of the slowest movers in this window. Airline fares came in around 28%, which is under the 30 as well. None of that makes any of them cheap. Tuition was already brutal in 2019. It just did not get relatively worse. Your frustration is real. It is pointed at the wrong categories. 9th, eating out, over 37%. The meal changed far less than the transaction wrapped around it. Service charges appeared on the bill. The tip screen learned bigger numbers. 10th, haircuts and personal care services, over 35%. Same chair, same hour, same haircut. This one almost nobody tracks because it is not a bill. There is no statement, no renewal notice, no annual letter. It is a number you rediscover every 6 weeks and forget again by the time you are back in the car. That is the trap with anything you pay in person. There is no paper trail, so there is no memory, so there is no comparison. 11th, groceries, 33%. Barely above the line, and that genuinely surprises people because groceries feel like the worst of all of it. They feel that way because you buy them 50 times a year instead of once, and because the package got smaller while the price held, which the index sees but your memory does not. Frequency is what makes a number feel far bigger than it is. 12th, water and sewer, 32%. Water, the other thing on this list that is physically identical to what it was. And almost nobody notices because almost nobody reads that bill. It is the quietest line in the house, which makes it the perfect closing item because it is the whole video in one utility. It went up faster than everything else. It did not improve in any way. You cannot opt out of it. And you have probably never once looked at what it was 6 years ago. So what do you actually do with a list like this? Not what the internet usually says. This is not an instruction to go cancel 12 things. Look again at what is on it. Water, electricity, insuring a car you need in order to work. That is the real finding, and I did not expect it when I pulled the numbers. Most of what beat the benchmark is not discretionary at all. The things people are told to feel guilty about, the coffee, the small treat, are not on this list anywhere. The drift happened in the bills nobody ever chose to look at. And a category you have never examined cannot be negotiated, switched, reduced, or even knowingly accepted. That last one matters more than it sounds. Knowingly accepting a cost is a completely different experience from being quietly surprised by it every month. Half of what people call money stress is not the amount. It is the surprise. The same bill, expected, does not feel the same as the bill that ambushes you. You do not have to cut a single one of them. You do have to know which ones moved. 30% is the water level. You cannot control it. You can know how deep you are standing. If you want the version of this you can act on, there is a free guide in the description with 37 places. Money quietly leaves an ordinary month. And if you want to go a layer deeper, Watch the Stealth Wealth one next. It explains why the people who look the most expensive are often the ones paying the most to look that way.